The meeting's being recorded. I will start with introductions for those that are in person, and then we will run through the list of folks joining us virtually. So I'm Julie Richmond, Deputy Commissioner, Orange County Planning, sorry.
Orange County DPW.
New York State Department of Justice.
Jason Morris, City of Newburgh.
Jacob Williams, City of Middletown.
Warren Bennett, OCTC staff. Ashley Long, OCTC.
Rob Harrington, Orange County Planning.
OCTC.
Okay, and then on the line, we have, you guys gonna run through the names?
Sure. I can do it. So it looks like we have Charlie Carnes, Barry Cheney, Bob Mannix, Harriet Lewis, John Ravella, Lizzie Phillip, Michael Amabile, Olu Falarin, Supervisor Geraldman, and Charlie Carnes again. Whoever is the supervisor, would you like to introduce yourself?
It's Denise Quinn.
Can you repeat that?
Denise Quinn.
Oh, hi, Denise.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hi.
Okay. Was there anybody we missed? Oh, and Mike Sweeten just joined as well.
Okay, and then do you want them to put their affiliation in the chat?
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and put your name and your affiliation in the chat box, that would be great.
And we were also just joined by the mayor of Middletown. Okay,
I will say, for the transcript, if you're in the room and you're going to speak, just say your name so we have it on record.
okay, so moving on, opportunity for public comment. I don't see anyone in the room from the public, and I don't think we have anyone on the line presenting any public comments today, so we'll move on to item number 3, accept the meeting transcript from September 15th, 2021. Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So, thank you. Okay, we've a lot to discuss today, so we're going to move to Transportation Improvement Program, and I'll hand it over to Ashley.
Okay, so we do have one draft tip amendment. So there's 3 projects in this amendment. It was sent out, so it should be available online, or anyone in the room, there should be a packet. So the first one is to add a new DOT paving project with statewide funds on Route 94 and 17A in the towns of Warwick and Goshen and the villages of Warwick and Florida. And this is a mill and fill resurfacing and 88 curb ramps as needed, intersection improvement, slope stabilization, and culvert replacement. And so that project is looking to add funds in 2022, starting with detailed design, and construction would be in 2023. Does anyone have any questions on that project?
The funding is separate. It's
It's
funded
state-
by
yeah, it's
the
statewide
DOT
funded.
has nothing to do with our funding.
Yeah. So it's coming in with the SPDG Flex and the PIT bonds,
Yeah.
so nothing to do with local funding.
I'll make the motion.
Oh, no,
No motion?
no motions.
Okay, go ahead.
We're good. The second second project in this amendment is for the Village of Highland Falls. They've had an earmark for quite a while for Mearns Avenue, and unfortunately, the funding has expired, so we're looking to delete the project off of the TIP. So it's about $358,000 that has been earmarked for them for Mearns Ave reconstruction and curbing and sidewalks, but unfortunately, it expired, so. And we did reach out to the village so that they are aware that this action's being taken. And then the final project in the amendment is another DOT project, and it's existing project that we had previously added to the TIP. And so it's to increase construction funds, that's coming from an offset from a Mid-Hudson South pin. And it's for wall repair on Route 9W in the town of Highlands. So that's in 2022. So those are the three projects. Does anyone have any questions on any of those projects? Good. If you do, let us know. Otherwise, there's a December policy meeting, so this would be on the agenda for approval then. I think we're going to keep rolling right along. And so the next item on the agenda, after we sent out the agenda, actually, so this is one of the new items, we received the 2021 unamended STIP performance. And this might look familiar to you. It's kind of like the report card for the TIP. So when we adopt a new TIP, they take kind of, FHWA takes like a snapshot of it and then likes to look back and see how our projects fared comparatively. So, and let me get a little bigger. You'll see on the handout and on the screen that it shows the percentage of pins obligated by the region as well as the cost. And then the next kind of two tables in the middle are the percentage of pins obligated by each MPO and the percentage of costs obligated by MPO. So you can see that OCTC, we're at 45.5% of our pins were obligated. So we obligated 5 out of 11 projects for 2021. And then you can see that for percentage of cost obligated by OCTC, it was 59.1%. So we obligated 26.7 million out of 45.2 million that was programmed on the TIP when they took the snapshot. So ideally, we like to see, and the region likes to see a 50% obligation rate or higher, but you know, we're definitely moving our projects along and doing much better than, I don't know if some of you remember a couple of cycles ago, it wasn't so good. So we've definitely come a long way. That's promising. And then as part of that, we had discussed with Sandra Jobson, who unfortunately couldn't be here today from DOT. We'd had a conversation with her and she had made some suggestions about things that we could undertake, including maybe some project sponsor meetings throughout the year where we take a kind of a bigger look at projects and just make sure everybody's on track so that our obligation rates, you know, stay a little higher. So that could be something that we could implement in the future. And I think we're going to get into it, the TIP update too. It's a good like jumping off point for that, because during the TIP update, we generally, you know, meet with everyone and take a harder look at the TIP. So just a little heads up. So we're not doing badly, but we could improve. It's really, I think, the moral of that story. So it's definitely come a long way. So anyway, does anyone have any questions on the STIP performance, on the unamended STIP performance? Okay. Hearing none. I keep going with things. The next item is the 2023 to 2027 TIP update. I think it was mentioned previously that we're going to start undertaking the TIP update process. And in fact, we've already kind of started it with issuing the requests for the TIP questionnaire submissions. So I would, at this time, just like to remind everyone that if you have a local project on the TIP, we are asking you to fill out a questionnaire, one per each project, and just send it back to OCTC staff. If you have any questions, let us know. I think a lot of you have already, you know, you've been on the TIP for a while, so it shouldn't be new. We haven't received a few, but I will say there's still many projects out there that we haven't heard from. So just a friendly reminder that they're due next Friday. So, and then just to kind of run through how things kind of work, like a quick overview. So once we get all the TIP questionnaires back, staff will look at them and kind of evaluate them and put them into a spreadsheet form. And then we'll also be scheduling like local project sponsor interviews with DOT and the local sponsor. And if you have a consultant that you'd like to be involved with that, and then OCTC staff. And so then we just kind of talk about projects and scheduling and any funding needs anticipated, you know, all the details. So we're going to start scheduling those over the next couple of weeks. They should probably start after Thanksgiving at some point, so it's like a one-on-one. And then, some of you might remember too that during the TIP process, we use a spreadsheet to kind of track everything and make it easier to kind of digest during the meeting. So we'll be sharing that again. So the meetings, the upcoming meetings, we'll just be continuing to have the TIP update discussions and kind of keep you abreast of what's happening. There is one difference I will say with this update. We're not slated to receive the TIP update guidance until January, which is a bit later than we normally receive it. So there's a little more uncertainty with it, which Lauren's going to actually give a presentation now on and kind of some of the options we have upcoming for this TIP update.
Yeah, so today we prepared a presentation. I know a lot of you are familiar with the process, but if you're not, we're just kind of going to run through everything really briefly and then go over some of the options with funding. So what is the TIP? The TIP is a short-range multimodal capital program that's undertaken by Orange County Transportation Council. It's funded by federal highway and federal transit funds. It's used for highway, bridge, bike, pedestrian, transit, and transportation projects. And most importantly, the TIP must be fiscally constrained, which means the funding programs in each year of the TIP or STIP does not exceed the total planning target for each of the years. So the TIP update process, just to kind of lay out what to expect in the coming months. The first part of the process is to review and evaluate existing projects and project needs. And so once we get an idea of what projects are currently on and what those needs are, then we start to assess the targets for each year and make sure that the TIP is fiscally constrained. And so while we're drafting that, we also, some of the parts of the TIP that also have to move with that is the TIP narrative, which includes anticipated effects, the transportation conformity document, and then we're looking at a TIP visualization, maybe doing an online map, to be able to share more widely with the public and with you guys. So then once we get that draft, we start to consult with NISDOT, FHWA, EPA, other agencies and stakeholders as part of the regulations. And then once we have that, then we go to a public meeting. So the public meeting is held during one of the planning committee meetings to discuss the draft TIP. Then we'll go into the 30 days of public comment period. And finally, we will hopefully adopt the 2023-2027 TIP, the TIP narrative, and the air quality conformity document all at the same time. So as part of the public process, you know, it's kind of a three-legged approach. You know, we have the consultation, but we also have the public meeting, public comment period, and the opportunity for interested parties to be involved. So we just kind of have a draft TIP update timeline that kind of breaks out each of the steps. So from now until the planning committee meeting in January, we'll be looking to evaluate the current project needs, which includes the TIP questionnaire and the project sponsor one-on-one interviews and meetings. And from there, we'll then really start the process of drafting the TIP. So we expect, hopefully we'll get that guidance in January, and we'll be able to kind of start to draft that process. And then then we'll go into, we'll have a draft TIP, and then we'll send that to the pertinent agencies for their consultation. And then finally, we'll look to present that at the April meeting, have that go out for 30 days. Or no, then you review, sorry. We're gonna hopefully have a draft by the April meeting, go out for the 30 days of public comment, and then we'll finalize that draft and look to adopt at the June policy committee meeting. So this timeline is subject to change, but I think this is a pretty good snapshot of the anticipated timeline.
Okay, I just want to pause there for a second. So the reason that we're having this discussion and going over the TIP timeline is it because there's this one variable this year, which is a little different for us. You know, everyone's getting very excited about the potential for the new infrastructure funding. They did pass the bill on Friday. The problem is, you know, there's too many unknowns at this point, but so this whole idea of potentially having a call for projects, that's what we need to discuss now, because if we were going to do a call for projects, we would need to do that, we would have to start that process now, and we would need to do that before the January discussion. There's a couple of options if we were to do a call for projects, which is what Lauren's going to run you through now. And then we will explain, you know, some of the guidance that we've gotten from NISAMPRO as well as NISDOT on what approach we might want to take based on the fact that we'll probably have to use the 2019 targets. So if we're doing a call, it would be based on 2019 numbers, which is a little bit nerve-wracking because those numbers could change. So that's one thing to consider. So I'm going to let Lauren continue now to talk about what the options are if we were to do a call, and then hopefully we can have a discussion about what the board would like to do.
Yeah, so as Julie was saying, you know, in the last 4 years, everyone's done a great job building their projects and completing them. You know, we had a lot of legacy projects before that moved from TIP to TIP. So now we're seeing, you know, there's a potential to include more projects. So I think it's an exciting time, but also, you know, we don't know exactly what's coming with the funding. So just going to run through some of the options. You can interrupt if you have questions. This is supposed to be a discussion, so jump in as needed. So the first is a call for projects. As Julie said, we don't know the funding target. If people were interested in doing the call now, we'd have to start that process soon to fit into the timeline, and we just don't know the funding. But, you know, if people were very, very interested in doing the call, you know, we would do the call, evaluate projects, and then if funding becomes available, you know, put that on the TIP. So the next was when we did the LRTP update for the 2045 horizon year, we did a call for ideas. So transportation professionals were able to submit ideas for long-term projects that were included in the appendix of the LRTP. So here's just a list of some of the projects that were included in the call for ideas. So the other option is, instead of doing a call, just evaluating the existing projects that were already presented and evaluating that and prioritizing based on those existing call for ideas. The only issue with this is a lot of those projects were long-term, and the TIP is a short-term timeline, but that's still an option. The next is the block funding PINs. This is what OCTC has traditionally done, and this is also what we are recommending to do again. But that's just when you for each of the funding sources, you put a block PIN on the TIP for each of the TIP years. And then that does not preclude anything from happening in the future, but just gives us an option to be able to physically constrain everything with so many. Another option is parent pins. This is something that other MPOs and NISDOT especially do, and this can be a system-wide project that's based on, instead of basing it just on funding, it can be based on certain projects with goals such as safety, resiliency, pavement, And then, so you can have this parent PIN and then decide the locations later. So that is an option. You can fund projects on state roads. So if there's any local needs on state facilities, we can work with NISDOT Region 8 to prioritize projects that can be advanced. The other option is to look at recommendations from some of the recent studies on state facilities, such as the Connect Mid-Hudson Regional Transit Study, the West Central TLC Study, which should be concluding, and hopefully by the end of this year, early next year, the Route 17 Health Study, and any other local studies that communities have identified projects. You can progress projects in phases, so do detailed design and then phase the construction in 2 separate phases. And then the other option is just to mix, you know, one does not preclude others, so there isn't a way to add block pins, add parent pins. I don't know if anyone else has any ideas that they would like to throw into the mix.
So the question on the table is, do we do a call for projects now based on the 2019 targets? Because we don't know what funding we're getting, we don't know the amounts, and we don't know the guidance that may accompany the funding requirements. So if we were to do a call now and put projects on the tip, we may find ourselves down the road having to do a second call for projects, because then we may have projects on there that we're trying to make fit guidance that we didn't have prior to doing that. We could kick the can down the road and just, you know, based on the 2019 targets, figure out what projects have been obligated, back them out, and see what kind of funding we have left over and put them in the block pins like we've done in the past. That would give us a little flexibility to adjust later on in next year if we do get more information, or there is you know, a funding influx. So that's kind of the question, I guess, before the board now is what you would like to do. Does anyone feel strongly either way about, you know, doing a call with some of these other options and looking at, you know, the potential for those type of projects?
We started all discussions with the.
So Julie,
Yes.
it's Mike Sweet. I like the block pin idea until we can really strategize what the priorities are.
Okay. Jacob?
Yeah, I was gonna say, might be a lot of work that we have to go through without knowing the amount of funding that is available and what qualifies and what not.
Yes.
So to put everybody, you know, in high gear to try to generate these projects, and it takes a lot of work. I'd rather know what are the targets, what are the specifics, what are the limitations, and how much there is. And we'll be happy. We have a lot of projects in Middletown that we need to pursue, but we would like to get guidance first, but a lot of time to generate this. Mayor, whatever he decides afterwards, but that's my.
I can actually do the block pins, so definitely. Block pins.
All right. Travis, block pins.
You can do the block pin, then you can do the call for projects at any point when we get more guidance, right?
Right.
So that just makes sense to me.
Yeah. Anybody else on the line have an opinion? Like to
Julie,
share? Yes.
this is Olu. From my meeting also with NIMTEC, I think they are looking at the planning target coming up in January. So I don't know whether you have the same idea that state is going to release the planning target in January. Maybe you want to wait till you have some numbers. I'm not sure whether you have that idea. I'm just throwing this in.
Thank you, Ola.
I'm sorry?
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a good discussion. I hope everyone understands the options. If anyone has any questions, you should reach out to us. But it's kind of in line with what we were thinking, that there's no point of putting everyone through the efforts of trying to do a call without really understanding what it is. So, and we've had, I think, really good success with using block pins in the past. So we're going to move forward with that then, I think.
all right, great. So then the tip schedule that was outlined by Lauren is likely, we'll just progress on the normal tip schedule. The issue was the call for projects, which we would have to initiate like now, so.
Yeah, so, just gonna reiterate how important it is so that we evaluate existing projects to know the needs. So if you have not already, please fill out your TIP questionnaires and send those in. They're due by the 19th, November 19th, which is the Friday. And then we just look forward to project sponsor interviews that will be coming up. And the more details we know, the better. So it's really an opportunity to talk about where your project is and what the needs are, so we can accurately put that in the tip. And then it looks like we already narrowed down the funding options, so that won't necessarily be a topic coming up. But look forward to the January policy committee meeting where hopefully we'll have this guidance and we can discuss this further.
Nicole, do you think we could include LPU on those project sponsor interviews?
Yes, I think
We have NISDOT as well as the project sponsor and their consultant, I think would be a good thing to do, so we can get an accurate assessment of where people are. We're all on the same page.
Do people have a preference with Zoom or in person?
For the interviews,
Yeah.
probably be easier for NISDOT and coordination if we did them virtually, right?
if you do them all in a day
Oh,
or in the
yeah.
afternoon or something, we could do them for the afternoon.
Okay.
And that would work, but however works best for them.
I think if any of the local project sponsors have a preference, if you prefer to meet in person or virtually, just let us know. Otherwise, we'll be reaching out, so this isn't the last of that conversation, so.
All done, all set? Lauren? Okay, so just again, tip questionnaires are due November 19th. Okay, so now we're moving on to the discussion of the day, the City of Middletown funding request.
Good thing, discussion of the day, right? So just to give everybody background, I will start and then Mayor can fill in or jump in whenever he wants to. This restructured all our work in the City of Middletown, all the improvements of the surface infrastructure, roads, curbs, and sidewalks around this traffic operations. And traffic operations in there, it forced us to come up with our own money in there to fill all the gaps, because the traffic operation, basically, we go into all the signalized intersections in the City of Middletown, rip them all out, upgrade them, all ADA accessible, new traffic lights, pedestrian crossing, curbs and sidewalks, asphalt, milling and paving, crosswalks, stamped concrete and all that stuff. So we were left with the City of Middletown becoming like almost like the Swiss cheese. So we have intersection here and about 200 feet in between, not covered by anything. And the same throughout. So we had a project which is the ADA accessible. So we came up with like a master plan in there to connect all these things together, all these projects, and the city will come up with its own money. So the DOT project itself, the traffic operations, is $21 million basically. Plus, you have all the numbers, so I don't want to quote them exact, but about just over $21 million. And on top of that, there is an additional $5 million that the City of Middletown is paying from its own money for phase 2 and phase 3 of that project, which was bid for a total of $26 million plus. So you have your own component, the DOT, and then the other ones are City of Middletown money purely, nothing from this organization. So when we opened the bids came within the engineer's estimate. We were very happy with that, $21 million, basically $26 million now. I have two numbers. The $26 million, it's inclusive of the city-owned projects to fill the gaps in between. So the DOT is only $21 million. So when I say $26 million, that's the overall project we are awarding boards. We have already made the award to boards. The estimates that came to us, not estimates, the actual bids that came to us is $26 million up to $40 million. We had a lot of bidders in there. So the point is, we're very happy with the bid that we got from boards. We did with WSP detailed engineers analysis in there with the bids, and we're very comfortable with it, that they are balanced bids for boards. There is no unloading, or there is no taking advantage of possible underestimating or overestimating by the engineer of the quantities to be involved, to be installed in the field. So anyway, so make a long story short, we are short actually in the funding by $1.8 million. We already have over $2.5 million unallocated funding remaining on this tip. Our request is to give us the $1.8 million that we are requesting of the money that's already available on the tip from CMAQ that has not been allocated. I know the money will be available in 2024, and we can structure our phasing of the construction so that when the money is available in 2024, that phase of the construction, equivalent amount of construction, will take place at that time. So in a nutshell, this is our request. So it's an overall huge project in there, and you know, the city really took a share with this thing, only with this phase, is over $6 million. That's, we're paying our own money. So we're putting our money where our mouth is, so to speak, and we did award the project last Tuesday. Was an official award subject to DOT approval. DOT is reviewing the award package, and we're expecting to get a letter from them to bless us any day now. That would be our request. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to address them.
Process already? So
Yes, that's qualifies the project for the process.
So Jacob and I did have a conversation last week, and I've had some conversations with DOT about this funding. So Jacob and I had talked about this. So I will say to the committee that there is an issue with awarding the 2024 funds as it stands right now. DOT previously, the city had come with a previous request, and the committee allocated the 2023 funds to the city of Middletown. And when DOT went to FHWA for approval, FHWA did not appreciate that, and in fact, kind of came back kind of harshly on DOT. FHWA wants to see all of the construction funds for the project in the year of obligation. So the year of obligation would be 2022, which is what the federal fiscal year we're in now. So that would be an issue to award the 2024 funds. And FHWA won't approve that, unfortunately.
We have to identify or define the terms we're using here. We have awarded the project.
Right.
The city will come up with its own funding.
Right.
The city is already coming up with over $6 million.
To allocate, they won't let us allocate the funds to you now, though. Like, the FHWA won't approve the 2024 funds to be allocated to this project right now, because 2024 is so far out.
So what are we going to do with the money?
Your project is not eligible to use it right now. I would say that it's down the road. You came back to the committee, we could have that discussion, or during the TIP update, that could be part of the discussion, because the new TIP will be from 23 to 27. And so obviously we don't know what the funding looks like that we may be getting from that process, but 24 has been in play. So that could be part of the TIP update discussion. But my complete understanding is that FHWA won't allow us to award the 24 funds to the project today.
estimate on the construction.
We can stretch it, yeah.
Well, I'm not saying stretch it, now, it's,
No,
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 no.
stretch it, but if you do stretch it, is the fund rule they could be available in?
They could still be available,
They
and,
could still.
yeah, and,
So what's gonna happen to the funds now? Just to,
Well,
in simple terms,
right.
what's gonna happen to the fund? You got $2.5 million sitting there.
The funding,
Well, who's gonna have it? You can't allow a new project to come in.
well, that's up to the committee, but,
You have to- How could
if
you?
we add new projects
What's
during the
that?
TIP update, that's a whole different.
No, that's for the new tip. We already have projects on the tip. We've
Right.
always done that.
This is an FHWA, decision. They want to see all of the funding obligated in the year that of the year of obligation, so that'd be 2022. And you're using, I think, another point, just to be clear, is that the city is using their own local funds because you've already awarded the bid. And so you're not looking for funding to fill the gap right now in order to continue going with the award process. You're looking to kind of replace the local funding with the CMAQ funding. So,
No, over and above. If we don't get this funding, then the city would be paying over $8 million towards this project.
right,
So we're already paying over
Mhm.
$6 million. Do you understand?
yeah, yeah, it's an FHWA decision at this
Well,
point.
when you and I had this conversation,
Mhm.
you told me that the state will not, or the Federal Highway Administration will not even accommodate the request without the project being fully funded.
They won't allow you to go to construction unless the project is fully funded.
Right.
And they want to see it in the year of obligation, which would be
Right.
22.
So that's why we went ahead and we awarded the bid.
But,
And we are willing, as I told, I had a
right.
conversation with you, we are willing to put our money,
Mhm.
the additional
Oh, right.
$8 million in there that we're asking
Yeah.
for right now.
Mhm.
But the money cannot sit there and just roll over or become.
Right.
We're going back to the same problem that Orange County Transportation Council had years ago, you just referred to it at the beginning of the meeting.
I don't know that we're going back to
Which
that
is
problem.
money piled up in there and nobody's using it, and it just keeps rolling over, projects rolling.
There is another
Now you have a
option.
huge project, now you have a huge project in there that is central to the city of Middletown. That
The
compromises.
other option is to go back to stages. That's the only other way to award the 2024 funds.
What do you mean go back to stages?
So this project was technically originally 2 stages, right? It had stage
Phases,
1
yeah.
and stage 2.
Two
And
phases.
so, right, it had 2 pins. And so what ended up happening was all the funding and the work got funneled into stage 1.
Yeah.
So there's a placeholder basically of $100,000 in stage 2.
Yeah.
So the option would be to go back a two-stage construction process, but you would have to rebid the project for stage 2 to use the 2024 funds.
No.
Yeah, so I didn't anticipate that,
No,
You would-
we have a great
Yeah.
bid, we don't wanna,
So-
cut our nose despite our face.
Mhm.
however.
No, I
We can't-
understand.
we can't
It's
do that.
difficult.
We have a great bid there, we have a great contractor, we've been working with them forever, they're local, and
Mhm.
we can't go back segmented.
Right.
It will be throwing money away, just to get back
Right.
some of that 1.8.
Yeah.
All right, so, you know, obviously you got the story from the Federal Highway Administration, we would like to have a conversation with them directly and the DOT as well.
Sure, I mean, we can have those conversations. Unfortunately, that's the answer that I was given,
Yeah, that's
so-
all right, we'll explore it with them, and, we're not willing right now to say, oh, okay, then we'll walk away.
Right.
Well,
Yeah, and I think that's the point I was kind of getting to, is that since you are locally funding the gap, the $1.8 million gap that you have, your project can continue into construction, and we can keep having this conversation. So that's a good thing, if the city is willing to put up the local funds and continue moving your project forward, so.
It's not by choice, because we have to. No,
Right.
seriously.
No, I
It's not
understand.
like we have nothing else to do. City of Middletown doesn't have anything to do with $1.8 million. It's
Right.
really difficult for us to
Mhm.
do it because we're cutting other projects, important projects that we have to do. We're already coming up to $6 million. Now we're gonna come up another $2 million, $1.8 million.
Oh, I don't doubt that it's a
So
straight.
it's a backbreaker for us, and that's why I don't wanna look at numbers sitting there, and then at the end of 2024 or 2023, say, oh my God, we still have money left over, and we're not looking good in here, and money's been sitting there, and nobody's using it, and we'll go back looking, now we have a project in there that is vital for the city. It's pouring its heart into it, because it's from city line to city line, it's not like concentrated in any place.
Yeah.
So we would like to pursue it, and so we'll pursue the conversation.
Yeah, I mean,
With
if you'd
the
like to
federal
have the
highway
conversation with DOT or FHWA, we'll see what we can facilitate. But yeah, they were pretty clear that all of the funding on the TIP would need to be in the year of obligation. You're not misunderstanding, correct, Nicole?
It is there. I mean, if we have any projects in there, then we go
It's not,
over budget.
it's not a matter of the
We
money
go
like
over
being
budget.
there, it's about the ability to use it, unfortunately, and roll it into the year that you would need, because there's no project in 22 that can act as an offset. So there's no project that we could push out from 22 to 24 to act as an offset for those funds either. So like, that's kind of the other portion.
Oh, I got
of
you,
it.
yeah. That would be nice.
Yeah,
That's
but-
available.
Yeah, but fiscal constraint doesn't allow us to,
So everybody that is committed for this year and next year is moving forward?
yeah, I think those projects are moving along, so, and it would,
So all the money will be spent in the year it was obligated then?
my understanding is those projects are moving along and that, they recently received detailed design approval, and so they're moving through the process. So it's really, I don't think that we can ask them to roll out their project to 24 when they're, you know, they've just gotten design approval to move their projects along. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's kind of the answer from FHWA, but if you'd like to have those conversations, that's
But
okay.
maybe we should have a conversation, or you should have, we'll be happy to participate, serious conversation with the project sponsors that are currently
Mhm.
on the tip, if they're going to go with 2020, for the 2022 and the 2023, and see if they can push it backward. If they're gonna, not because of us, because their timeline is not gonna fit.
It would have to be a CMAQ project, and I believe that me and Ashley has looked at
Yeah.
for CMAQ projects, and there are none in 22. And I don't quite remember what we saw in 23, because that doesn't really help the issue for needing the money in 22.
So we can, again, we can use the money in 2023 or 2024. Doesn't have to be in 2022 to the money. The goal is to put it up. I'm sorry?
FHWA,
After, what?
FHWA says it does have to be in 22.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's saying very clear that they want it in 22. So, yeah.
Next we have
I just had a question. So one of the issues that everybody struggles with is the 2024 money it's not like it's sitting in a bank there, right? It hasn't been allocated to us yet to use. I just wonder, Jacob, is there any way that you guys can figure out a contingency to push some of it off? I mean, is there some way to do that? Work with the contractor? I don't know. I'm just asking, just to be safe. You know, if FHWA is set, they're not going to change their mind. So I just wonder if you've thought about that, Jacob, at all.
Yeah, you mean cut some of the scope out, you mean?
Yeah, and then try to push it off, like Ashley was suggesting. You know, if you have the mechanism to shift it into the second pin. At least it keeps your project moving, and then then maybe the 2024 money gets accessible.
Yeah, but then we'll have to rebuild it. That's what Ashley was saying, right?
Yeah, I know, but between now and that these prices are going to continue to escalate. So it might not be bad to rebid it. I don't know, just some portion of it, whatever you guys. I mean, the cost, so it just seems like that's a contingency that might be worth the exercise. I don't know.
Yeah, it just for us to go back and segment it now and cut out some work and rebid it again, it's an effort. I mean, it's a huge effort, and we'll never know what numbers we're going to get. Now we're bidding a much smaller project. Unit prices are going to go higher, and you know how it is. You just did it yourself, Mike. It's going to be the prices are just going to go higher and higher every year. It's not going to go down. And when you get a bid 26 million versus 40 million, that's the range of bidding. It's very favorable for us. But we'll keep this conversation going with the Federal Highway Administration. Now, Mikey said that something about the money is not there. What does that mean? The money's not
So the TIP is a planning document, so until you actually obligate the funds, like you're doing now,
there? Yeah.
until you actually say, I would like to obligate the funds, and you're approved and awarded those funds, the funds on the TIP are technically just for planning purposes, and
Right.
they're not actually promise to your project or to, is that the right way to explain it, Nicole?
Yeah, especially given that we're in between acts and or it's the last year of the tip, which is always a year that doesn't technically exist on the tip.
But the money's there. The money's there. If there was a project you get that's committed, absolutely. Well,
I mean,
this is how our project was.
Right, for that year, though, that's the point, for that year.
Right, I understand, Mike, and the issue is we don't want this money to evaporate, and it's sitting there. We can't
No,
be obligated.
I get it, but the council can consider, let's say tomorrow, look at the Port Jervis Bridge. I mean, you could have a bridge that's suddenly flagged in next year. You could get a project together for that. So I think there's time for us to figure it out. It's just that, they're not gonna allocate it. That's pretty clear.
Well, I don't know how clear it is. We want to have the conversation with the Federal Highway Administration and the DOT as well. And in the past, I don't believe, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, we didn't allow new projects to come in because there was some money sitting there. The money just continued to roll over and over and over from one tip to
I don't
another.
think anyone's suggesting that new projects are going to come on the tip and take the funding away from the
Well,
state.
that's what Mike just said. I'm not
Mike
saying,
said-
I'm not, just,
No, but what I said was that the council is not going to let the money be at risk, right? So there is potential for us to allocate to a project, and it could be one that's already existing or a sudden emergency that's important to the county. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying call for new projects. I don't think that makes any sense. I'm just saying that money, that money will not go to waste one way or the other.
Mike, we had this conversation before with the Sandra being here about emergencies. You can't use this money for an emergency. You
No,
cannot.
right, but there could be a project tomorrow, right? A municipality could come to the council with a project that says, look, if we don't do something in the next 3 years, this is going to be a problem, right? And the council could make a decision to accept that, I believe, unless I'm wrong. Ashley, you can correct me.
No, you're correct.
So that's my point, Jacob. It's not that, not that anybody's looking to steal the money. We just got to figure out how to use it, and we got to figure out how to keep things moving. And, you're doing good stuff and everybody wants to help, but we got to work within this bureaucratic system they've given us.
No, understood. I appreciate that, Mike, and I appreciate how you guys voted in the past, supporting our projects, and I'm not taking that away from anybody. We appreciate that very much. But now we're here, and we want to take advantage of available funding there instead of us trying to squeeze ourselves out of projects in order to make this project happen in there. So we'll continue that conversation. I appreciate your thoughts and your ideas in there. And
Yeah, I think we're happy to facilitate the conversation with DOT first and
the
see.
Federal Highway Administration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that, Mike's kind of hitting the nail on the head here, that the options that we've kind of been talking about would potentially be to break out part of the construction and move it into the second stage, especially, we have been seeing the trend that project costs increase over the years. So if you're anticipating that, it might be beneficial to come back and rebid, for that project and the rest of the work that might go into a second,
What do you mean? How is it beneficial if the prices are going up?
No, it's bad, but if you're coming back to the committee for more funding in general, it can be in 24, and so that any of the 24 funding would potentially be more available to you.
Yeah. We'll have the conversation with
Yeah.
Federal Highway. I don't want to beat this
Sure.
into that,
Yeah.
but the issue is, Port Jervis, City of Middletown, we came back for additional funding once the project was started.
Right.
We did, and we got approved.
Right, but
and
it was once the project was
For
started.
millions of dollars.
So that's,
for change- I'm
yeah,
sorry?
that's the key there. It was once the project was
I
started.
know
So they
that,
already
but-
had construction underway. You're obligating funds now and looking to obligate funds outside of the year of award. So
No, we're
outside
going
of 2022, the way that FHWA looks at it, they're saying, oh, you're going into construction, we want to see all of your funding in the year of obligation, which is 2022. So the fact that the 2024 funds are, you know, technically available in the block doesn't matter to them. They want to make sure that all of your construction funding is in the year of obligation. So in the case of Port Jervis, they had construction, they had awarded the bid. Right, right. No, I know, you're just a good example,
For
yeah.
no, for all the
But,
projects too, for
right.
roundabout.
Right, it's the same
For
principle.
ADA goes inside,
Yeah.
we came back and you guys helped us.
Exactly, so that's a different story. Honestly, yeah, it's different because you're looking for additional funding because of cost overruns that you didn't anticipate. Versus asking right now before you're going, while you're awarding the bid and going into the obligation process
Right.
now.
So we'll have the conversation with the
Okay,
Federal Highway
yeah, we'll just
Administration and
keep
DOT,
talking.
and hopefully, you know,
Mhm.
we can come to a conclusion.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, we're just gonna keep, having.
You arrange for a conference for Zoom call for us, please?
Sure,
Or,
yeah.
or face to face, or whatever
Mhm.
we have to do.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, please, as soon as
Yes.
possible.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments before we move on? Okay, I think next up, to close out this TIP agenda item, just any local project sponsor updates, if anyone has anything they'd like to share. I know, no one wants to talk now.
Well, I just give you a big update.
Yeah.
Long update about the traffic operations, so you know where we are. ADA, we're almost done with it, ADA cousin sidewalks, and, we gave you that questionnaire, we submitted that, so you should have all the details in there. So, we're rolling, should be in no time.
Actually, for the pedestrian safety improvements project that's underway, will be completed this year. Most of the physical work, the pedestrian signals in Cornwall, and they're working out by Shut Road. Otisville Viaduct or the Wall Street, Howland Avenue over Wall Street project. Still working through right-of-way acquisition for that. Bogged down right-of-way a little bit, but going to be, that's the Bridge New York project. We're going to be requesting an extension. Heritage Trail Segment 2, the section from Palmer to is anticipated to be completed this year. They happen to be bridge panels. Crossings at Sprague and Janelle last week. We're going through
Anyone else like to give any updates? Good. Move on.
Old business, I don't have anything for that. I don't know if anyone on the council. Not, we could just move into new business.
We do have some new business. As you know, we've been talking about performance measures that have been coming out from Federal Highway, and so we have another one. So it's for the endorsement of the new performance management targets for Public Transportation Agency safety plans. So in July of 2018, the FTA published the Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan Final Rule. And so this requires operators of public transportation systems that receive federal funds under the FTA's Urbanized Area Formula Grants to develop safety plans that include the processes and procedures to implement the safety management systems. So these safety plans were required to be established by July 21st of 2020. And so OC Planning and Transit Orange and Rob and Martha and the transit staff, they worked with the operators to complete all of those safety plans. And so now we're at the point where we're looking to the MPO to establish the performance targets that are used to track the progress towards this performance measure, basically. And so you'll see the draft resolution on the screen. It's fairly similar to some of the other ones. We're just endorsing the safety plans. And then if you want to keep scrolling, you'll see that the attachment includes the tables for the safety plans. So you're going to see like their safety performance targets. So there's multiple providers. So there's multiple providers in Orange County, so there's quite a few tables. And then you'll see that their performance targets include mode of transit service, fatalities, the total fatalities, the rate of fatalities, the total injuries, the injuries rate, safety events, total and rate of safety events, as well as system reliability. So these have all been approved by the operators, and Orange County worked with them. So now it's just the MPO's turn to endorse these safety plan targets. So that would happen at the December meeting. Anyone have any questions about them? They're kind of along the lines of some of the other performance targets, like the kind of mechanism that we're using here to endorse them, but this is a new one. We haven't had this one come around before, so. Okay, if there's no questions, then just look forward to the December agenda. And then I think I'll just keep rolling right along. The other piece of new business is that, as you know, OCTC is hosted by Orange County. And so as part of this arrangement, every 10 years, there's an MPO host agreement that needs to be revisited and re-signed. So the agreement's between DOT and Orange County for OCTC, and it was last signed in 2012. So we recently received the agreement. Am I detailed here? Okay. Yeah, it's below the generic sign-in sheet. There you go. So it's on the screen. This is the track changes version, just so you can see the agreement's pretty standard. Nothing really changed from the last agreement that was signed in 2012. Unfortunately, we didn't send this out in your packet. This came up a little later. But basically, the agreement is, in a nutshell, allowing Orange County to utilize, we pass through the funds for the MPO, the Federal Highway and Federal Transit Administration funds. And then it just explains, who the parties are, and you can see that in the highlighted elements. There's just some updated language in terms of the county executive and the address and our urbanized area, unless you want to keep scrolling to the next bit. And then, recently, since Dave Church left and Alan Sorensen's taken over as commissioner, we've just kind of replaced some of those names in there. So the bulk of the agreement hasn't changed. And so we're just bringing this to the committee because during the last host agreement, the committee adopted a resolution supporting the host agreement. So
It basically has to go through the legislature
Right.
for approval, but we thought we would do a parallel just support resolution through OCTC. So that will be on the agenda for.
Yeah, so DOT is looking for a pretty quick turnaround, actually. So they're hoping that we can, the county will sign it by the end of December. So our December meeting works out well in terms of timing, so. Does anyone have any questions about the host agreement? Okay, great.
Okay.
Did you have funding like directed towards you guys, because you put a lot of hours and, Ashley probably, she dedicates her life to this Orange County Transportation
You mean in terms
Council. Did you subsidize your,
Yeah,
okay,
the staff time is,
all right, good.
because it's a
That's all I
reimbursement
wanted to-
process,
yeah.
yeah.
Fair enough, thanks.
Okay, so we're still on new items, or new business. So the last thing on new business is just to kind of go over and confirm our OCTC meeting options. So we were virtual during COVID, and then we decided to go back to a hybrid format where we're doing the hybrid option, virtual option for the planning committee meetings, but for the voting meetings, it has to be in person. But we have learned that under the Governor Hochul's executive order, we do have the option to vote virtually as well if we want to. So I just wanted to throw it out to the committee in terms of what you would prefer, if you want to keep the in-person component, or if, and this executive order, I should say, only covers us till January, so really the only meeting in play right now is the December meeting. So I didn't know what members wanted to do, if you wanted to go back to all virtual, or if you want to prefer to have the voting meetings in person. And I would just note that for our purposes, when we do the transcript, if we are going to have the in-person elements, that we need the person to just identify themselves before they speak, every time they speak, because the transcript, it's automatically transcribed in Zoom, and it doesn't differentiate who's talking. So it becomes all one big discussion that we have to try to parse out. So that's, I think that's it in a nutshell. I just wanted to run it by the committee to see how you want to proceed. You have a preference.
Then it's when you can do it.
I like in person.
Governor changes how many meetings have to be.
I'm not sure if you can hear Jack, Mike, he was saying that he thought that there's a better percentage of attendance when you have a hybrid meeting as well, so.
Yeah, hybrid's fine.
I think the in-person component is nice just because you can't, very hard to hear the people that would be back
Right.
here.
Okay.
You guys are easy to hear, but attending virtually.
I don't know if you can hear Nicole, Mike, either, or anyone on the phone, but she was saying just kind of when, because the room is so large in person, it gets a little hard to hear people. So like having kind of those options is nice for sound purposes, I guess. Right, Nicole, is what you're saying?
Yeah, but if we went all virtual, that could still limit
Yeah.
as well, so.
Right. Yeah, so all virtual.
Hybrid option is easy.
I will say we are working on acquiring better equipment that includes kind of like those little satellite speakers. But, process.
I think hybrids, from our point of view, from my point of view, is much better, because this way, some people have some issues with their health and all that stuff, and they don't want to be in the same room. Imagine if everybody's forced to come and participate here, without any option to be on Zoom, or whatever it is. It's going to be tough.
Right.
So until this COVID stays with us, I like,
Mm-hmm.
mix and match. Whoever wants to show up, by all means. Whoever wants to stay away, by all means. And open up the voting for people who are on Zoom. That would be my opinion, because some people have some health issues.
We
this-
can.
This is,
Mike.
Olu.
this is only from MT. Well, MT will prefer the hybrid and the ability to be able to vote virtually as well.
Understood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sounds like people are definitely interested in adding a virtual component to the meetings, including the voting meetings. So we will, I think, move forward kind of operating under that for the next meeting. And we'll see, I guess, in January what the governor, if she extends it or not. So, okay. We just want to make sure everybody was on the same page.
Yeah, this is Lizzie Phillip, and I also prefer virtual meeting.
Okay.
We'll have the hybrid in-person and virtual meeting for the December policy meeting. You are able to vote if you are virtual. Just let us know though, for planning purposes, if you plan to attend virtually or in person. It just helps with setting stuff up.
Just make sure, if you get the emails or the calendar invites, to make sure let us know if you're able to come to the policy meetings, just for quorum purposes. So. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Right, good, thank you. So I think we're moving on to towards the end here, reports, OCTC staff reports. Save the date, the next policy committee meeting is December 14th at 1 o'clock. As Lauren said, we'll have the in-person hybrid option. And then
So it should be in this room. It's come in person. It's in the legislative committee room on the third floor at the government center.
all right. And then any other member reports? Hearing none, I think the final thing we have is Ashley has an announcement she would like to make.
Right. So I just wanted to let everyone know that this is likely my last meeting. I'm sorry to say. I've accepted another position in Ulster County, so I'll be closing out the time with Orange County over the next month or so. So I just wanted to say it's been great working with all of you. I think that, you know, the committee's really come so far over the years, and there's a really great camaraderie now and understanding about the process and, you know, talking things through. And yeah, so I just wanted to say it's been great, you know, working with all of you. And this is definitely like a bittersweet moving on, but it's exciting, so.
What's our law?
Yeah,
We will see you there.
I just
I wish
wanted
you the best of luck, and
Thank
you've been great here, and we really enjoyed working with you. You've been thorough, on top of everything, and we sincerely appreciate it. You've always been there for us anytime we needed, so I wish you the best of luck. Are you gonna be in the policy?
I don't think I'll be here in December, so.
John had a comment.
Who's gonna be taking your place?
We
You
don't-
don't know yet?
Not sure. But
Yeah.
you're in good hands in terms of the upcoming things, so the tip update, all the things, so yes. Thanks, John. I appreciate that.
All the best, Ashley.
Oh, thank you.
Doesn't the committee have to vote unanimously?
Oh, no. That's daunting, but yeah.
Good luck.
Oh, thank you. So, but yes, if you have any questions, I will be here for like the next month or so. So, I mean, feel free to call me or email me if you have any questions or concerns or just want to chat. So.
You're gonna set up our meeting, right?
Yeah.
I will set that up. So no worries. But anyway,
All right. Thank you, everyone. On that note, I think we will adjourn.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.